want to thank you for joining us today here at We want to thank you for joining us today here at... Shut up, I'm gonna get it. We want to thank you here for joining us today here. So, moving on to our other, to our next, what the hell is this shit again? Moving on to our next, what? As well as the entered, as well as, so that we... Do you think I could do radio?
You had the face for it.
Oh, God, I hate you.
What's new?
Because I need therapy.
Can you tell the difference in the quality of the video?
Unfortunately, yes, you can see your face clear.
What are you doing?
I am standing because I am getting swamp ass.
Dude, the one cheek sneak doesn't work when everybody's staring at you. Did you not notice I increased the size significantly?
No,
oh my goodness.
I'm also dyslexic, Gert.
What?
The system is down. If you have any feedback, other tips and tricks, or comics you'd like to discuss, please send them to us.
In 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, the single largest lackluster choice is what, Ian?
Feet, but that's not what we're talking about today.
I'm gonna stab you. Weapons! And I hope that our wonderful guest, Alex,
I love
agrees.
being here. Yes. I was ranting about it on stream today.
Well, we rant about it regularly. We are so glad to have you back, Alex. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to talk about how weapons are lackluster and there's not really a lot of uniqueness to them. Some of them are identical. I'm looking at you, polearms.
Yep, the halberds and the
Pike.
Yep.
And the glaive.
Okay, we're gonna really split hairs about how the battle axe and the longsword have the exact same stats, but cost different amounts of money.
They have different weight too.
Yeah.
That's it. Alex, before we delve into this a little bit, well, I guess I should introduce ourselves. Hello and welcome, heroes, to the Crit Academy. I'm your host, Justin.
I'm your
I'm your
host.
guest, Alex. Oh.
No, you're right. He's wrong. Get out.
No, we changed it to think it's last because of the delay.
It's not what it says.
Then you changed it back!
I should probably fix that. Go ahead. Not you. Alex.
I'm your guest, Alex Baum.
We are so excited to have you. If you guys don't know, Alex does amazing content on TikTok and Twitch. I am lucky enough to be one of her players in her D&D games that you can check out every other Friday, Initiative and Intrigue, which is awesome because she's an amazing DM. And I'm not just saying that because she's sitting right there. I truly mean that. So
I'm not just saying that because I can kill your character.
That too. So we hope today to bring we hope to inspire you with creative content that you can bring with you on your next adventure. So I want to hear Alex's thought on the weapons and their quote unquote variety, and how do you feel like it adds anything when you pick your characters?
No. I was literally talking about this, that at one point I played a barbarian, ancestral guardian barbarian, and I was so dead set on this guy carrying a maul or like a club of some sort of blunt force trauma weapon. And I literally was sitting there with Max and with the other players, and I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna do like a club. And they were all like, oh, you're not gonna do a great axe? And it turned out that it was because it does significantly less damage, and there was no plus side to being able to play, because there's this the Oni, which is a Japanese demon. They carry these insane clubs, and I've always wanted to be able to recreate that into Dungeons and Dragons, and also just take from other places and other inspirations. Like example, having sickles. Like sickles are amazing and sound like such fun weapons, but they're just
trash. And
it's a crime to yourself. It's doing yourself a disservice to pick it. So this is extremely exciting to me.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's something that we've talked about in the past. You know, when it comes to weapons in 5th edition, and by extension armor now, since we're expanding upon it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it really matters, so there's no reason not to take the higher damage dealing weapon.
Shoot, I remember when in Gamma World they didn't even bother listing weapons. It's like, here are the weapon categories. Pick what you want. Just say what it is.
Yeah. Yes. Actually, I'm gonna be running Gamma World at one of the conventions I'm going to, so I'm so excited.
Oh my god, that's so exciting.
Yeah, I love. If you don't know what Gamma World is, it's a post-apocalyptic game based on the 4th edition D&D, and it's so much fun. I think at one time I was wearing Tyre as an armor. Like, that's where I got the mailbox idea for my character, the mailman, hitting people with mailboxes instead of malls.
And the one game I played in, my weapon was literally a garden gnome duct taped to a stick.
A garden gnome. Oh, the hat's pointy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. So, anyways, so the one of the best parts about D&D is creating your character. So, we know that in 5th edition, many people constantly are saying there's not enough options, there's not enough options, there's not enough options. While I don't disagree that there's more options in other games, at least there's less that lead to dead ends in 5th edition. But one of the things that's always fun in the older editions, and pretty much any RPG, is choosing the type of weapon you got, because it's not just the mechanics that come with it, but the flavor. And we want unique mechanics. You know, I think in previous editions, picking a dagger gave you a bigger crit range, for instance.
Yes.
So that was a reason. It does less damage, but it's more likely to score a critical strike. And we wanted some of that back in our 5th edition game, right?
Mhm.
And I think that we struck a bit of success with weapon perks, which was single-handedly our biggest selling product in all of our categories.
And if people are buying it, that means they want it.
Yes.
At least that's how I often interpret it.
Yeah, it's moving now. And so what we decided is we wanted to expand upon this. First of all, everyone's asking, why isn't there a print option? Why isn't there a print option? Why isn't there a print option? Well, we don't get to choose that on Drive-Thru or DM's Guild.
Yep.
So we decided we wanted to take our experience with that and expand upon it for our newest product, equipment perks, which is also going to go towards weapon or armor as well as weapons. And so I've been sending out ideas over the last few months and posting them and stuff to get feedback on from our followers that want to enjoy more of these options.
Yep.
Because think about it, even armor, when you get it, it does two things: increases your AC and screws you on dexterity stealth checks. That's pretty much all it does. So once you get a higher one, there's no reason really to ever wear anything less. But what if there was?
I mean, let's be real here. Most martial characters, once they get plate mail, why would they use anything else?
Right. What are your thoughts on that, Alex, before we start getting into some examples?
One of my least favorite things that ever happens at low levels is whenever you have a paladin who has some kind of armor that gives them disadvantage on stealth checks. Mm-hmm. And you're like level 4, you're just getting into it, you're just getting going to things, and that person doesn't get to participate in the stealth mission because they have disadvantage on the checks. I find that so disheartening, I think, and I think that it would be really cool to be able to eliminate the limitations, but also add more nuance. I always like nuance, so adding more nuance to things is extremely fun.
Yeah,
and that's kind of how we feel at this point.
And also, by the same token, too, the AC for that armor that gives us defense the stealth checks is so high. The paladin's mindset would be, understandably, why would I wear anything else?
Right. And so we wanted to do a couple different things. First of all, we wanted this to apply to all the weapons in that category. So perks also apply to magical weapons because it's a feature of the equipment, not necessarily a magical effect, if that makes sense. So let's get that out there. And I also think that this makes the character creation option much more engaging, because now when you're building out your character, like, oh, well, what weapon would be best for me, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not all about damage, though I am going to start off with one that's more damage, because I feel like the dagger just doesn't get enough attention and love, right? So one of the design philosophies that we went with was trying to utilize more skill checks during battle, right?
Yep.
So one of the first ones we gave for the dagger, dagger is one of the few that gets 2 features. The first one it gets is hidden weapons, where they can do a sleight of hand to try to hide up to 2 daggers on their person.
Yep.
If they attack somebody with one of those hidden daggers, they get an increased crit range to 19 to 20.
Yep.
Which is very much along the lines of what it was in pretty much every other role-playing game in history, as far as I know. Do you disagree with that?
No.
First of all, before we get into the next one, Alex, what do you think about that?
I think that's incredibly fun. I like it. I have nothing else to say but like praise. I don't know.
That's perfectly okay. You can say how great it is. I'll listen.
I'll shower you with compliments.
So
No, I do think you did address this with other weapons with the perks, but something else, another way that daggers have been disadvantaged is you can really only throw 1 in most cases.
you throw 2 as a bonus action,
Right?
but a rogue's never going to give up a bonus action to do that.
But the point though is, like in early editions, like you just keep drawing them and throwing them. But with the current rules, like you can draw 1 weapon. It's like, but that doesn't make any sense for throwing weapons.
Yeah, especially when you can hold 4 in your hand and no. So we figured that wasn't enough. That's very circumstantial, but it's kind of nice. So then we're like, well, why don't we give? I'm a big fan of the people that use daggers are cheap and dirty fighters, right?
Yep.
So we went with cheap shot, which basically when a creature within 5 feet of you critical hits on an enemy within your range, you can exploit the distraction and use a reaction to make a melee weapon attack.
Backstab.
Yes.
Okay.
That to me is something that. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, sorry, there's lag. As a DM, I despise that. As a player, I love it.
That's perfectly okay. So one thing that I think doesn't get done enough is we don't do enough with reactions in 5th edition. So you'll see a lot of mechanics that lean into the reaction and bonus action categories more so than the action.
Although to the degree with the reaction part, I think the rules kind of get in the way sometimes too, as written.
What do you mean?
Well, my main go-to, for example, is spells. Running and actually have to cast a spell.
Mm-hmm.
Like as written, like oh, you lose a spell slot because you casted it. It's like, no, I didn't, because the action didn't trigger yet for me to cast it. There.
Oh, you're talking about when you like ready an action or something like that?
Yeah. In that case, yeah.
That's pretty obnoxious. Everyone hates that. I hate that.
I was house roll that out.
Get out. I mean, I understand it makes sense. You've cast the spell and you're storing it. Like, it's like, Goku holding his spirit bomb, right?
Right.
He's channeling it, and then he gets punched in the face by Frieza and it dissipates,
Yeah. But at the same time, I kind of view it as like saying, I'm getting ready to shoot my bow, don't fire it, but you still lose the arrow anyway.
Yeah, okay. There's a reasonable argument for that. So, all right. Any more thoughts on the dagger? Is there something else you would have liked to see on something like this?
It's fun.
No, one of the things that I very much enjoy is whenever you include into combat checks that are not combat. So like this idea of including the sleight of hand into an attack, I always find those kind of things very enjoyable because it's just delving a little bit deeper into like, oh, like I need to make sure I spread out all my stuff and I need to make sure that I have all my bases covered. It almost like negates people who like to like mid-max in the bad way and break things. This almost like negates that, and I like that.
And I also think that it's a good way to encourage people to go into certain skills too. Like, I think one of the first features that I saw use this, and I could be wrong, there could be another one, but it was the Rogue Mastermind's Insightful Fighting, where they could use a bonus action to do an insight check to gain advantage on their next attack. I thought that was cool, and I realized, why isn't there more of that? And so that kind of was part of the design philosophy going forward. The next one I want to talk about is one of my favorites, because I think that this should be in more items, is the Javelin, which I'm sure you guys know is a thrown object.
Yep.
So, of course, we gave it something related to that, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Basically, when you make a ranged attack, you can attempt to pin a larger, smaller creature to a surface, such as the ground or a wall. On a hit, you forego your normal damage, so you are losing damage output, right?
Yeah.
To pin them to the ground. So when you do, you deal your strength modifier because you're hoofing it to them, and they have to make a strength saving throw, or their movement is reduced to 0 until the javelin is removed, which takes an action either from the creature or another creature within it, making an athletics check to free it, contested by your strength, which is not actually in the ability. The modifiers are basically 8 plus your proficiency plus your strength or dex, the player character's choice.
Yep.
What do you guys think about that?
I absolutely, and I adore this. This has been my favorite one that I've read so far. The reason why this is my favorite one is because javelins are such a quintessential weapon whenever it comes to a lot of different cultures and a lot of different like Norse, like kind of Greek kind of effigies that you want to create within a character, within a space. But javelins suck. And I believe that there's actually a background. I think it's Gladiator. I don't remember, but there is a background that specifically gives you javelins. And I remember people would sell those javelins because it was like, why would I use these javelins? The thing that I picture whenever I see this, I immediately picture a like paladin that doesn't have that isn't very stealthy, and then a rogue going out, and then the rogue going, okay, now, and then the paladin just pops out real fast and just chucks it and sticks into a tree. Like, I can imagine this is something that sparks inspiration and sparks populates more ideas in my mind of more ways that you could maneuver or get around a situation, and that's always what you want.
Absolutely. What are you thinking?
Now, I definitely think it adds more utility to weapons that aren't usually used, but something else I do kind of want to point out that if players can use these weapon perks, you better believe the enemies can too.
Oh, absolutely. We want to make sure that that's very clear.
So imagine goblins with these.
Well, and I think you make a good point of that. Having a horde of goblins chucking these at your players, pinning them into place, and then bugbears jumping out and ambushing them while they can't move, run away, or anything. Because imagine how that feels if a barrage of these hit your melee fighters, and then bugbears jump out and chase your casters around.
Yeah.
Like, that is just terrifying when you realize you're stuck. And that's one of the benefits of the equipment perks, is that they apply to anybody wearing the equipment that's proficient with them.
Don't say yeah. Gems are so useless that her probably uses them as tent poles.
Tent poles. Oh man, getting at me. All right,
bless you.
Thank you. So yeah, that's a kind of you can start to see the kind of way that we went with some of these mechanics. Some of them are focused on, some of them are damage buffs, but most of them aren't, right? Most of them are status effects or some sort of condition that gets applied. And it's worth noting that you can only get these benefits if you're proficient. And that means not everyone's going to be able to do it, and that's okay. But anyone that is proficient, you'll notice some casters and stuff have limitations to simple weapons or whatever, right? So the next one I want to talk about is the short bow. This is a very commonly used weapon, and because of that, it has a more defensive mechanic, right? It has open the range, right? Which basically means you're able to easily kind of keep a distance when an enemy's approaching. So when an enemy enters your reach, so within 5 feet, unless you're a bugbear, maybe 10 feet, you can use your reaction to move up to half your movement speed.
Yeah.
If you do so, you add your wisdom modifier to your AC until the end of your movement. Now, that doesn't say you don't provoke op attacks. You still provoke an op attack when it enters your reach, but you can then run away, potentially getting out of melee range of an enemy.
Yeah.
Even if they do get one swipe at you. The higher level you get, the bigger of a threat that is, right? Because you go from 1 swing to 2 swings to 3 swings, it becomes very potent. But the smaller capacity of the bow really lets you be more maneuverable. What do you think, Ian?
I definitely agree that giving the short bow added utility is nice, because in most cases the longbow is so much better. Why would you use a short bow?
Yes.
And I've seen some games that try to add incentive to using short bows by adding disadvantages to long bows, but when the disadvantages don't make any sense. Like in Pathfinder 2, for example, you effectively have a attack penalty to any time you attack an enemy within 30 feet of you with a longbow, but not with a short bow. I'm like, that makes no sense.
That's weird. Like, it's still... Anyways.
Yeah.
Alex, what do you think?
So I have a question first. Does this reaction of moving half your movement speed provoke an attack of opportunity?
Yes. It doesn't
case,
ignore the opportunity attack. What it does is it boosts your AC so you have a less chance to get struck, but allows you to potentially move out of range so they can't swipe at you more than once. Basically avoiding multi-strike.
I'm trying to think of what it is. I'm pretty sure it's kobolds. I don't remember if it's kobolds or goblins, but one of the two of them has a thing where, like, pack tactics kind of stuff. I immediately think of I immediately think of this on creatures that more poke at you and then run and then poke at you and then run. This would be incredibly fun on like kobolds.
Yeah, and it's definitely meant to be more of a survival mechanic. I think it was inspired by a there's a mechanic that the one of the rangers gets where they can basically always use their reaction to increase their armor class and run away. Obviously, this is significantly more limiting because it's tied to a specific weapon, but the concept was the same, so they could try to get out of dodge when big giant Brutus with a maul the size of a house comes knocking on your face, you know?
Yep.
So it's definitely a utility ability, because that was the other thing, is we wanted to make sure that it wasn't all just dealing more damage. So there's a lot more mechanics that are like this, whether it's for the armor or for the weapons, right?
Yeah.
So I think we talked a little bit about some of the weapons. I want to get into the armor, because I know what you're thinking. Well, what can you do with armor? It's all the same, right? It's just an increase in AC. How are you going to make it make sense without making it magical? That was hard, by the way.
Yeah.
That's very hard. There was a lot of reiterations on the ones we have now, and still there's some people that think they're not right. Now those are the loud people, but
sometimes they make good points.
They sometimes do, which is why we're on like version 3 of some of our equipment, right? Because we're not going to pretend to be, everyone has, it takes, practice to get it down, but I think we've done a pretty good job, I'm going to be honest. So think about it. Padded armor. How many people wear padded armor?
Well, it depends on what kind of padded armor, but no one.
Yeah, nobody. Very few wear light armor. Padded is like the lowest level of armor.
Yep.
Even in the light.
What I think is very interesting is that I know for a fact that bandits wear padded armor. Again, this can also be used. This can also be used on enemies. Bandits use padded armor.
Well, let's talk about what this perk does for our padded armor, because I know you're all excited to learn, right? So we've given it improvised triage. The simple design of padded armor allows it to be quickly removed and can be used as bandage gauze in an emergency. While wearing this armor, if you are unconscious and dying, a creature has advantage on wisdom medicine checks to stabilize you. Additionally, if they roll a 19 or 20 on that check, you regain a number of hit points equal to your proficiency bonus.
Yep.
What do you guys think?
I think it does a good job of giving you a little extra something without being too broken.
I'm glad to hear that. That's like the 4th iteration of that. What do you think, Alex?
The thing that this actually makes me think of is allies in the field. So let's say there are since I said bandits, there are some bandits that are attacking a village, and you have been, conscripted by the mayor to ward off these bandits. Perhaps the guards of the town are wearing padded armor. And
nice.
So then there is an action economy choice that the players have to make. Do they let this comrade die, or do they take the moment that is an even easier moment than it normally would be to stabilize them? So this immediately goes action economy for me. Like, what do I do? Do I take that moment to stabilize?
It's good if you have weaker NPCs in the area too, because I can totally see that happening to a player and a PC that doesn't really know much about medicine with no bonuses running up and just trying to rip part of your shirt off your sleeve and your armor and wrap it around your bandage just so you don't bleed out and give them an increased chance of success when they wouldn't otherwise have that.
Yep.
And if they do a superb job, you get up, which is just a little bit increase. I don't know if everyone knows that, but you get 1 hit point if you roll a natural 20, right?
Yeah.
So increasing that a little bit, increase that success rate for this particular type of armor, and does kind of give a little bit of a safety net. Not as much as we would like, especially with spells like Spare the Dying, but that's not always available, right? Especially if the person wearing it's the one with the Spare the Dying.
Or the party doesn't have a cleric.
Or the party doesn't have a cleric. So you can kind of see where we were trying to go with this equipment perk, all about versatility. And you're going to see some of that goes through the rest of our armors as well. I don't know, Ian, have you gotten to see what we did to what was done with chainmail?
Yeah, I did look at it a little bit.
Want to tell us about it?
Yep. Bludgeoning resistance. By design, beneath the interlocking metal rings is a layer of quilted fabric that's used to cushion the impact of blows. While wearing this armor, bludgeoning damage you take from non-magical weapons is reduced by an amount equal to your proficiency bonus.
Ooh, that's damage reduction.
Yep, a little bit.
A very small bit. What do you think about this, Alex?
Sorry, I saw what the next one is, and now I'm super excited. But that's something that I've been like, I want it to be a thing. So that makes me very excited. But I think that is actually incredibly fun, and I also think that is one of those things that chainmail is typically not worn by higher level. Normally they go to like half plate or plate or something like that. So I think that this is a great thing to kind of soften that area in between like level 3 and like level 8, where it's like, ooh, I don't want to kill you, but I'm going to kill you in 1 hit. That thing. That's a good way to soften that for a DM. And then on the other side, I think it would be very, very, very comical to watch they're trying to get this guy, and the barbarian just comes in, gets a big old swing, and it just barely does anything.
And that's kind of the point of the armors, right? They all specialize in blocking or absorbing certain things, right? And so we tried to make that come across. A little bit of digging through history and some flavor to figure out what would make the most sense. Tying it to proficiency means it gets more effective the higher you get, but nothing outrageous. I mean, at level cap, it's 6. But that means a goblin with a hammer is probably not going to hurt you, which is kind of the point, right?
Yeah.
So since you're so excited for the shield, why don't you tell us about it?
So the shield, it has a +2 to AC. It has no properties, and shield slam. When you score a critical hit with a melee weapon, you can use your bonus action to make a staggering body slam with your shield against the same creature. The target must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or be stunned until the end of its next turn.
Got a lot of flack for this. It's too powerful.
One thing I think is a neat feature. I can see why people consider it powerful, but it just occurred to me that one thing we could is if your opponent rolls a nat 1 when they're attacking you, as a reaction,
ooh,
you can either do something like this or knock him prone.
You're a man.
I actually don't think that this is incredibly overpowered. And the reason why is because it's a Constitution saving throw. Whenever you're talking about scaling, whenever it comes to D&D, one of the things that is almost always scaling upwards as you get into the higher CRs is their Constitution score, and the amount of creatures that have an extra bonus to their Constitution saving throw, the saving throw specifically, I would gather to say is like a decent chunk, like over 30% of the higher level monsters. I wouldn't actually necessarily say that this is incredibly overpowered. The other reason why is because it's stunned, not like unconscious, it's just stunned. And
and it requires you to score a critical hit too. So that really makes it use very infrequent. But you've already crit, so.
Although it could be more useful for barbarians with their reckless attack.
It's almost like you're in my head.
Almost. And I don't want to be there. It's a weird place.
He's not wrong. You ever played Psychonauts?
Of
It's a
course.
lot like that.
Yep.
If you haven't played Psychonauts, shame on you.
Get.
Excuse me.
Yep.
So, so this actually is on version like 5, right?
Yep.
There was a lot of debate on how Shield Slam should function. This one I like, but honestly, I kind of like the reaction based on a Nat 1.
Yep.
Because now you're giving an opening to severely punish if you're wearing a shield, which I think is really cool.
Yep. And then chat, one of the guys did say that they think Shield Bash should be an ability for people with Shield proficiency. And you know what?
Of course.
That's fair.
Yeah, and that's exactly how our perks work.
Yeah.
If you're not proficient, can't get it.
Oh, that's actually a good thing to highlight, yeah.
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 If I didn't highlight that already, you can't use weapon perks if you don't have proficiency, which is a perfect segue into exotic weapons.
Yep.
So, what is an exotic weapon? I am so glad you all asked. So, in previous editions, exotic weapons were hard to get and required special training or a feat or something to get, right?
Yep.
That's not any different here. All your weapons with your perks that are on your player's handbook table are available for everything. But our exotic armors and our exotic weapons aren't on the player's handbook, which means the GM has to open up the opportunity for you. You have to find a way to train to learn it, whether it's downtime or finding a mentor, or you can take a feat that nobody ever takes.
Yep.
You know what feat I'm talking about?
Quite a few, actually, but hey.
Well, specifically, Weapon Master.
Yep.
Which basically says you get to learn 40 weapons and become proficient in them.
It's like, the problem, though, is you either have no use for them or you already know them anyway, so why take it?
Which is why it's trash. But now we're making that option more appealing. Because it's easier to just take a feat to get what you want than it is to seek out a trainer that can teach you how to use the katana. Now, before everyone on the internet says, Justin, katanas are long swords. Yes, I know.
Yeah, we know that.
But since there's a lot of hoopla for it, I felt like I was obligated to include it. Plus, I'm a huge anime fan, and I love Rurouni Kenshin and every samurai flick where they draw their blade and cut people in one stroke.
And just know we made whips more usable. Yes.
You're welcome.
Short version?
Got you.
Yes. We're not talking about them today, but yes.
So let's talk about katanas for a second. This is on version 3, so we have made some adjustments because people disagree.
Although I wouldn't be shocked if it's going to be a 4 and 5 down the line, but hey.
You know what? You shut your mouth. So, first, let's talk about damage. Now, we wanted to keep it within... The one thing we want to do is make sure we're consistent on damage ranges, right? Because while we want the exotic equipment and armor to be better, we don't want it to be so much better that the other stuff is obsolete, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, for katana, we made the damage 2d4.
Yep.
And it's versatile for 3d4.
And it's finesse.
Not anymore. Oh, yes, it is finesse. Somebody was giving me I almost changed it. Somebody's giving me a hard time about rogues. Rogues can't use it because it's not something that they're proficient with.
Yep.
So I forgot who I was arguing with about it. I was like, rogues are proficient. Anyways, yes, it has finesse. So you can use strength or dex, right?
It's like, yes, we know rogues are proficient. We never said they were.
Yeah, but it's not something that they can get without training. And maybe they'll train to get it. Maybe they won't bother. Who knows? Maybe they'll use a feat slot. Yep. Anyway, so Deadly Draw. This was of all the things that we designed, I think this one we struggled with the most. Because it's based on cartoons. Excuse me, sorry. I think I ate something bad. So, do you want to tell us about its Deadly Draw?
Yes. Ian? The Deadly Draw, the unique design of both the blade and the sheath allows you to accelerate the blade when drawn. When you ready your action to make a melee weapon attack, on a hit, you roll the attack roll. If both attacks hit, you score a critical hit.
Before I get to him, Alex, what do you think?
So first of all, I just want to say that I think that this does really good justice to like an actual katana, because this is actually how they would use katanas and samurai would fight. They would like wait. They would like sit there and wait. So whoever did this one actually researched the actual culture behind katana. So nice, very good. I think it's very fun. I also think the readying your action is fun. I think that the readying your action would be very interesting in the sense of if like you had an arcane archer who banish it and then come back. And the guy's just sitting there like, I'm ready. But also the other way that I kind of like think of this is an ambush. That's where my mind immediately goes with this is like some kind of ambush. And I love ambush. We don't do enough ambushing in D&D. Ambushing is so much fun whenever you actually like mechanically you get down to it, and like it's great. So like this just of course, like again, sparking inspiration, sparking thought. This just sparks me to be like ambush. And I like it.
Yes.
Sure.
What do you think? Here it comes.
I would imagine that because like you're using your ready action to attack, and you roll twice, would you still have extra attack with this?
No, you don't get extra attack when you ready in action.
I did not think so. So that does help balance it out, especially after level 5.
Yes, and that was some of the people say, why would they do this if they get extra attack and they lose 1 attack? I was like, sometimes there's situations where waiting is better.
Yep.
Like, for instance, you can't get within range is the first thing that comes to mind. Waiting around a corner for an enemy to come, and as soon as they come, which is exactly what Alex was talking about, ambushing.
And I think one iteration you've done in the past, too, was you put all of the weapon dice you would get from extra attack into the strike. But this kind of does the same thing to a degree, kind of.
Yeah. And what makes this interesting, though, is, yes, you're more likely to get a crit. That's the point. But you're not getting extra attacks, and your attack may never go off if it's got a specific trigger. And that's kind of the balancing. It significantly increases your chance to crit, by the way.
And let's also be real here, too. If you're fighting an experienced enemy and you clearly ready an attack, some of them might go, why did I walk up to you then?
And that's fine.
Or it's like, or I'll just throw my axe at you instead.
I love that. Just like, why is he just standing there with his hand on his blade? I don't know. Shoot him.
Because let's be real here. Most enemies aren't completely stupid, even though some DMs forget that and run them that way.
Yeah. And once again, it comes down to a patient style of combat.
Yeah.
But most likely it's when you can't get within range, or you're ready to ambush somebody. Or maybe you have good allies and you're used to fighting with Brutus, who chokes some people and drags them to you. Then you slice them up, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't get within range, but you know Brutus is going to jump over there like the Hulk, grab a bitch by the neck and drag him over, and then, you finish him and skewer him. So, anyways. So, somebody's talking about take aim for snipers. That is certainly something that we have tinkered with. I think on the longbow, when you shoot at your long distance, you get to add your wisdom modifier, I think.
Well, Delta was talking about her homebrew rules.
Oh, yeah, I only see part of it up there.
Yep, which is, in this case, take aim if depending on taking cover. The target's AC is reduced by 5, and if they hit, it does 1.5 damage, and if it's a crit, 3 times damage.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to get into, but I didn't end up doing that, was the double damage, triple damage of dice, right? Because that was common in practices in the past. So, the last thing I want to talk about is a exotic armor called Mage Weave. It is a light armor, once again, a lower tier piece of armor, but it's 11 plus your intelligence. Now, it has weave resistance. While not magical in nature, it's uniquely crafted by the strands from a massive-eyed creature. I can't say beholder because I don't want to get sued, right? But y'all know. That has resistant to weave's magical influence. While wearing this armor, damage you take by magical source is reduced by a number equal to your proficiency modifier.
Yep.
It's a pretty happy-go-lucky round. What do you guys think?
I think it's fun.
I think it's incredibly fun. I think that the amount of customization that you would be able to do. I mean, imagine being like in a city, like you're in the first big city that you ever come across, and you just got your first big kill, and you have all this gold to spend, and there's a weapon, everyone wants to go to the armory, and the sorcerer is like, I don't want to go to the armory. There's nothing for me there. And then the sorcerer walks into the armory, and there's this beautifully crafted, very MMO-esque robe for them, this weave for them, and then they're like, oh my goodness, what is this? And it's like, oh, this is specially crafted for magic users and yada yada from beholders. Like, oh my god, would you not just drop all your gold immediately?
Yeah, and I
Yep.
think this is priced at like 2,000 gold in my paperwork, so it's not cheap.
Perfect. That's
But all
perfect
the
for the first
exotic
big
stuff
kill.
is, and that's the other thing. This stuff isn't common, right?
No.
It might as well be as rare as some very rare magical items because you need to
Right.
spend either skills to learn it, plus you have to find it, which means you have to work with your dungeon master on it, which hopefully they will already be thinking about it. But it's supposed to help. Most importantly, it's supposed to replace a very specific spell.
Mage armor.
Mage armor, right? Because who wants to be dumping their spells on something like that at a higher level, right? That one slot may make all the difference. I'm thinking at you, Shield.
I actually think what it would be a really, really good thing would to be, okay, so there's a catch. It's $2,000 or it's 2,000 gold, but you have to kill another beholder and bring the strands to me so I can make another one. Like that's part of the bargain.
Girl, you're onto it. She gets it. She gets it. I love it. Yes.
It's made by immersing the crafted armor into the fluid from its eye after you drain it.
That's awesome. I was thinking like retina, like nerves. The nerves. Is that the corner?
Yeah.
What is what is the band of nerves behind your eye?
Mm.
Am I smart enough to know what that is? That's what I was thinking. The threads from that. Anyways, overall, that is our examples of our new upcoming Kickstarter exotic equipment perks. It goes live on September 20th. We're really, really excited. We're going to continue improving these and getting feedback so it's the best and balanced as possible. I hope that if you're watching this now, you'll consider backing it and help bring this project to life. We've been writing it, but there's still a lot that goes into it: artwork, layout, all that stuff.
Mhm.
So, if this sounds like something you're interested in, please head on over to rebrand.ly/exotic perks and back it because you believe in it. Help bring it to life. And if it's already successful and you're just checking this out for the first time in the future, click on the pre-order button or the get it now, and hopefully you'll be able to take your D&D game to the next level. Overall, what is your guys' thoughts on the equipment perks?
I do think overall adding more options to players is a good thing, and it adds more uniqueness to the equipment you're using, and adds more. That was the word I'm looking for. Impact to your choices.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Let the enemies feel the impact of your choices. That's good.
Yeah.
Right there. That's some high level promo stuff right there.
That really is. I adore it. I always think that, one of the things that is so important to me is to be able to populate someone's brain, to be like, to give them a little morsel, a little crumb, and then be like,
Mhm.
oh my god, what if they had to fight the beholder to get another thing for him so he can make another, like all that kind of stuff. And whenever you put these kind of like little small trinkets into any world, not only is it so widespread and so easily widespread, but it makes it feel a little more real, and it just makes the flavor a little bit more deep and dense. And it's just, I really enjoy these kind of things. This is the exact kind of stuff that I enjoy.
Yeah, me too. So
Oh yeah.
that's why we did it. Definitely check it out once again. Get notified right now when it goes live. You push that algorithm, the more people that are notified, shows it to more people. So you can help us out in a very big way. So that'll do it for our main topic. Let's move on to our unearthed tips and tricks.
And now, what you've all been waiting for. Our Unearthed Tips and Tricks segment, where we bring you new and reusable material for both players and DMs.
We got a hit flows anyway.
All right. As always, our unearthed tips and tricks are here for your D&D pleasure. Today we're going to start off with the monster variant, which is going to start off with the stat block from the Sagwahan. How do you say that?
Sahagin.
How about you, Alex?
Sahagin, that's how I know it.
Damn it. I guess I'm calling it Sahagin now. So it's going to lose a whole bunch of features. Anything that has to do with swimming, get rid of it all. We're going to give it several new features. Pack Tactics, we're going to give it, which is advantage when there's an ally nearby. And we're going to give it Aerial Acrobatics, which basically allows it to have advantage on all acrobatics checks. Additionally, while it's riding its mount, and the mount doesn't provoke op attack, essentially giving its giant eagle mount flyby,
Yeah.
which is amazing.
It's called the Wind Rider, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even say the name, did I?
Nope.
Yes, the name of the monster is the Wind Rider. And we're going to give it bird telepathy, which allows it to magically talk to any birds. And then we're going to give it a lance. The lance that has a really good reach does a d12 of damage, which is phenomenal. And then we're going to top it off with a fancy wind burst technique that requires shoots a beam of wind at a high rate in a 5 foot or 10 foot wide by 100 foot range, and forces a save on a failure, reducing someone to 0 movement. Do you know what that means when you're flying? You fall and go splat. Or if they do succeed, it knocks them 15 feet.
Yep.
What do you guys think about something like this?
That's fun.
So do they keep their CR 1/2 and CR 1?
So the monster itself is a CR 1/2, yes, and then there's some debate whether the flyby pushes the monster out of the CR1, but since its AC doesn't increase and it doesn't do no more damage, technically it's within CR.
Well, what's the CR for a giant owl? Because they have flyby. Actually, a lot of birds have flyby in general.
I don't know.
I'm looking at that.
But I don't think it's not one of the categories that's measured for determining a monster CR. So yes, they are within the same CR. But when you add abilities like that aren't really quantifiable, it's definitely a challenge. I definitely like this. I like this for a strong audio.
Okay, for what's worth, the giant owl has a 1/4 CR, and they have flyby. So
I think we're good.
So the thing that I was like thinking about is not this campaign like I, but the one before that one. I had an Aarakocra in my thing at level, and we started at level 3, and it was actually incredibly difficult to balance because he was able to fly. And I've heard this from a myriad of DMs, just that flying at very early levels it makes it a little more challenging. I mean, it's doable, but it's challenging. But I actually enjoy this because I really wish I actually had this while I had the Aarakocra at my table, so that he would be in the sky and he's like, oh, I'm all safe. No, you're not.
Gotcha, bitch.
Hi.
Nets are amazingly effective. Like, we had a battle in one of our PvP matches for Clash of Classes.
Our very
first one. The barbarian got caught in a net while raging and couldn't get out. So sometimes the rolls are not in your favor.
No.
And a net on a flying creature, they fall to the ground.
That's what I ended up doing. I ended up netting him a bunch, and he got really upset. He's like, stop it! And I'm like, well, then stop flying!
So these guys are pretty straightforward. For me, they are guardians of fortresses and defenders of, mountain cities, right? So that'll do it for our monster variant. Our encounter is Runnerfall.
Yep. The earth groans as something massive moves far below your feet. Sudden tremors rock the ground, and the ancient trees fall into a widening chasm of the earth. The PCs must make a DC 18 strength athletics check to outrun the fissure, or they fall 100 feet into the dark.
Are you feeling okay?
Yes.
Do you need a Snickers? Because I don't think you're being yourself. This episode is not brought to you by Snickers. But if you wanted to sponsor us, we take that.
Hey, just because I'm usually a player does not mean the DM I don't appreciate something evil.
So this is purposely left vague. Because what's at the bottom? First of all, unless you're an Aarakocra, it's gonna suck. Secondly, the Underdark is first thing that comes to my mind, which means you're gonna wake up in cages, a la what is it, Abyss? Out of the Abyss.
Yeah.
What do you think, Alex? This is a pretty straightforward concept. Nothing fancy about it.
So this is just, I don't know. This is just what came to my mind. But in the D&D Magic the Gathering crossover, there was a land that was a forest, but it wasn't actually a forest. It was a mushroom forest under the ground. like underground mushroom forest that had little peekings of the sun out from above it. And so what I think would be very interesting would be a very nice way to just suddenly open up a one shot maybe into a totally different spectrum and totally different place with lycanthrope and or not lycanthrope, what are the mushroom things, but it would be just a fun way to open up into a whole new setting. Like, you are now trapped down here and there is no way up, so the only way you get up is exploring.
Mushroom Kingdom, King Koopa, run!
Yeah.
Can you imagine adventurers running into a plumber trying to fight off some giant enemies?
To be honest, I do it.
As a way to introduce a dungeon, or maybe it's actually a prelude to the invasion by the mole men.
Ooh, I like that. So it's pretty straightforward. I like that it's open-ended, but it does beg the question that I think is part of the reason why it's like this. When you're doing something like this, should you do it by an athletics check, or should it be based on speed alone?
I can see it goes both ways. Ooh,
that's the challenge.
Or it could just mean that your kingdom has a purple worm problem. You need to take care of that.
I like that. So feeding it into something that burrows.
Yep. I like that too. The purple worm. Yep.
Then you fall into a big hole. He's like, "What is this?" Picks it up. Smells funny. Bill, I think that's
purple worm
poop.
bile.
Are you really? It smells kind of like poopery. Is that where that comes from? It is purple. Anyways, straightforward. I think these sort of encounters are fun because they can be random, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want to do this one particularly too much, but something like this can be, oh, you're traveling, 3 days, nothing eventful. Roll a die. Oh, the ground begins to tremble. What do?
Run!
Do they?
Or fly?
I don't know that they would run. I feel like players would just be like, what's going on, guys? Nature check. I'm pretty sure the ground is going to... and it falls out beneath them. Anyways, pretty straightforward.
That's one of the things that I actually love to do, and I just did it to you guys in Initiative and Intrigue. I say a vague thing, like you hear a rumbling, like you hear a rumbling, or like with you guys, it was that pocket opened up. The pocket opened up, and you have no idea what it's gonna do. You have one action. Right. What do you do?
What do you do?
And what's fun is whenever you're doing that in like a hallway or something, some people duck, some people step back, some people jump, and one of those is the right thing, but they don't know which one, and so that's what this kind of leads me to as well.
And I really like what you did there, because you didn't give us a choice. This thing happened, and you said, "What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do?" Yep. And it changes. Luckily, I had a immovable rod I could just hold on to. It's a portable safety handle. All right, that'll do it for our encounter, run, or fall. Our magic item of the day, Alex, would you like to tell us about it? That comes from Book of the Ebon Tides from Cobalt Press, which is amazing. I got it, and I've read that before my Spelljammer stuff.
That's amazing. All right, so what we're talking about is the Instant Door from Cobalt Press. It is a wondrous item that is uncommon. This item resembles an ornate key of bright copper, often inset with semi-precious stones or detailed with engraved filigree scrollwork and ornaments. While holding the key, you can make a turning motion to create a door in any wall within 5 feet of you. This door goes through the wall up to 5 feet thick, creating an exit that remains until you remove it. Nice. Turning the key in the opposite direction turns any normal, non-magical door into a section of stone or other material matching the wall on either side. Wood, I don't know what that other word is. Wattle? I don't know what that is.
I have no idea.
Plaster, and so on.
Is wattle like...
Yeah, wattle.
What is it? Mud?
Yeah, I want to say like a combination of like mud and straw or something. I want to say, don't quote me on that.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, so we're probably correct. I love this idea. I love the idea of the players just having a key to instant access somewhere.
This is another one that falls under the category, as a DM, I hate it. As a player, I love it.
Well, I think it can keep you on your toes as a DM.
Mm-hmm.
But it also allows you opportunities to have a little fun. What if one of the doors that they open is there's a guy sitting on a John,
Mhm.
just dropping a deuce. You don't know where that next room goes to. And I think it's really fun utility. I find that this would be really interesting as a way to get on in and out of their own fortress where there's no doors. It requires this special key.
Now, this might require some DM interpretation, but think about a way to potentially also break into a safe.
Yes. Vault.
Oh, that just instantly gave me the idea of like you have to go do this thing, and to do this thing, you have to get through this keep. But the keep is like a maze almost, and the only way through is this key. But like sometimes there's traps, sometimes you go into rooms. Like that's immediately where I go, is like this key is the key to getting to the thing you need, but it might lead to your doom as well.
Yeah, I think what's really cool about something like this, and it gives me. Do you ever hear or see the? It was a mini series called The Room, where they had a key, and it always, no matter what door you stuck it in, it went into this one motel room. When you come out, you can come out any door you can think of.
Yep.
It's really cool, and I think something like that is just fun and useful. And being locked out and just opening a door next to where they're all guarding is just, I don't know, it screams fun.
Also,
Yeah.
my inner rules layer does go. It does specify walls, not ceiling or floor.
I really don't like you sometimes.
Yeah.
You gotta be ruining my fun.
Well,
I'm thinking.
I only bring that up because I flashback to one time in a game of Pathfinder where the DM was very clear. Okay, we have a 3-story dungeon that goes down. You gotta fight through all of these floors to get to the final boss at the very bottom. Me or stone shape, bound for it.
It opens all the floors. I love that. They get pissed off.
It's like, and you're at the bottom floor.
We're gonna have to call it a night because I've only had the first 2 floors prepared. All right, it's a pretty fun, interesting item. If you haven't checked out Ebb and Tide, you need to. That'll do it for our magic item. What is it? The instant door.
Yep.
Our dungeon master tip of the podcast is go to the market stalls. This is also from Book of Ebb and Tides because there's some good shit in this book, and it really was just feeding my inner nerd. So, how many people often have the players go shopping, right?
It depends.
It can get a bit boring usually, right?
It can drag on sometimes, yes.
So something that they did here to make it more interesting, because now you can say, oh, you go to the market and you shop around, you get some stuff. Oh, you find common food stuff, including dishes and all nations of the mortal realm. In less than an hour, you're good to go. Or a visitor wanting to enter the area finds a rare and illicit substance. But if that's what they're looking for, they must spend 2d4 hours searching and succeed on a DC 20 intelligence check, investigation, or a charisma, deception, intimidation, or persuasion check at the DM's discretion. So now this is giving you a little bit of guides to, hey, if they're looking at these, use this little chart here and determine what they're able to find. It basically is a easy reference chart.
Yes.
For your players to do it, and it can be solved in an instant with a roll, which I think is a very fun way to do it. Especially if they're looking for like more exotic foods is one of the other options, right? So I feel like having one of these posted on your DM screen would be super valuable because now you can include the rolls and skill checks in those seeking things at the market, and it's to go by really quick where you're not having to role play everything. You know what I mean? What do you guys think?
My first thought is shows. Because everybody knows that whenever you do a shopping episode and the entire 4 hours of the show is shopping, it's not this is normal. The only reason why it's fun is because the players like goof off and stuff. So oftentimes whenever there are shopping episodes, you either want it to be interesting and fun or expedite the situation, and this almost does both at the same time.
Yep, I agree.
I do feel like when they do shopping episodes, it's fun for the first item.
Yeah.
But then jags on after that.
Yeah. Oh, I want to get a longsword. I want to get bags of balls. I want to get some cow traps. Oh, I also want some manacles. How about, we should pick up some, you're right. It drags on, it drags on, it drags on. You roll a die, determine what you find and what you don't. Hey, you could do 1 through 10. They find, basic rations, and that's pretty much all you can find in the market. Yep. There's not a whole lot that's outside that. Oh, You roll a 15 or a 16. You couldn't find a whole lot. There's a couple pieces of weapons and merchants. Give me a persuasion check. Oh, okay. You're able to negotiate down a little bit, and here's what you pay.
Yep.
That's it. Move on. Keep it going. So
Keep it going.
I really thought it was really great. That'll do it for our Dungeon Master tip. Our player tip of the podcast is Don't be a dick.
Got it that time.
If you say so. And you
It'll
can
be
avoid dickitude by don't avoid the spotlight.
To a point.
Yeah.
It's one thing to not be the center of attention all the time. It's another thing to swing opposite extreme, so much so that you fade to the background and don't really participate. Not that that's a bad thing.
No.
And
I wasn't necessarily in the role playing either. So.
Yes. But it's okay to take center stage every once in a while. Even if you're combat heavy like Ian or Troy, sometimes you need to get some information. Maybe you just jump into the center as the aggressive type for a moment so you can show off that part of it. What I think is really cool, it's okay to take that center stage for a while, especially if you talk to the dungeon master about it ahead of a time and let them set up scenes that tie in your character directly.
Right.
So that way, even if you're not engaged in the scenarios that involve the whole party, maybe giving you a 2 or 3 minutes of a one-on-one time at the table will let that part of your character come out to the players, not necessarily their characters. And I think that that's a good way to share your parts of your character with the players, but still keep the character as a separate from the party, if you will. I'm thinking edgelord usually is kind of this type of person, but you know, in most cases the DM will be willing to put in a lot of work to make special moments happen for your character.
Yep.
So don't make them not DMs. We love creating those special moments, don't we?
Yep.
So if you're the person who likes to sit in the corner, maybe occasionally just talk to your DM, say, hey, I would like a moment just to explore my character just a little bit, not too much so you're taking up too much time, but enough that you can share your character outside of their you're kind of staying back. I'd love to hear what you think, because I know Ian's very much on this kind of spectrum.
Yeah, I am. But sometimes it's also a balancing act, too, because I have, for example, in some cases, I once, after a game of, like, a Star Trek, for example, a DM complained, like, oh, it's not my fault you guys didn't do anything. And it's like the module was a science mission down on a planet. I'm the guy who steers the starship. What am I going to be doing down there?
See, that makes sense. And hopefully everyone understands that. What about you, Alex?
I really love this, especially because I just have like this memory of a player who I know him by his username JK, but he played Erdiax, who was this really, really cool Minotaur character who was cursed for like 500 years or something like that. So he came back and he was like, oh my god, everyone I know is dead. And JK just had such fear whenever it came to like role playing. And I just remember that moment that JK was like, so Erdiax walks up, and everyone in the party was like, what okay, everyone begin like whenever I say the entire party was excited for JK to have a moment because he had literally never had a moment. I mean, like, we all, at the end of my games, we all give each other inspiration and give each other compliments. Everyone gave JK the compliment. So it is so utterly true that we always are willing to work with you in order for you to feel more comfortable. And of course, if you're an audience member player, which is what I just call people who like sit back and like to watch the chaos and then randomly add in a couple of things, that's totally fine too. Like, you're welcome to be, but if you don't want to be an audience member, but you feel like you have to because of your own anxieties, like, please come talk to us. We want you to. We will facilitate this and make a space for you to happen.
Yeah. Now, I just flashed back to a point where also I think what can be built onto this tip, let other people have the spotlight too.
Yes.
Because I did have a brief flashback where, as you yourself said, I'm not really that big in the role playing, and therefore I don't necessarily consider myself the strongest role player either. But I remember one time where I was playing with a group one time who was very heavy into role playing, and there was one time where we were essentially from an alien council, and due to my character's class, I was considered a heretic according to their religion. And as we were doing an open forum, there was one point where I decided to try to role play. I'm like, if I may interject, but then the players and groups said, "Shut up, heretic."
That would piss me off.
It did piss me off. I was like, I barely get to role play. I was trying to role play, but then I was being told to be quiet. Now,
I would
granted, there was
literally
some
reprimand the
in-character
table.
context for that. I was like, dude,
Yeah, still, especially if you're not usually,
yeah.
trying. Yeah, share the spotlight. What's wrong with you people?
And like I said, there was some context, but
Yeah, but still, when you're in a situation where you've got somebody that doesn't speak up very often, finally speaking up, listen,
don't shut them down.
yeah. Even if you think that's what your character do, who cares? It's what they're doing.
Yep.
I hate that saying, by the way. That's what my character do. Fuck your character.
Well, there's a balance to that too, but
anyways, so overall, I think this is a really good tip and something to keep in mind, even for those that, would you call it an audience player? I really like that.
Audience member.
Audience member. All right, so that'll do it for our player tip of the podcast. Don't be a dick.
I was trying to match up with her.
I missed
Did she even
it.
say it?
I missed it.
That's okay. All right. Anyways, so before we close out, first of all, I want to say thank you to Alex for filling in. Brandon is expecting a baby along the way. So I think this would be a great opportunity for you to plug Alex Bombastic Oddities that's coming out early 2023. Would you like to tell the audience about it? Because I know I'm excited. I know you're excited. Let's hear it.
So hi, I'm Alex Baum, misspelled, of course, because I am insanely dyslexic, and I'm going to be an author. I've been working with Justin for the past couple of months to be able to be a Kickstarter with them in early 2023, around like the February mark, and it's for Alex's Bombastic Oddities, which is, in my kind of vision of it, is a book that is everything that I wish I would have had whenever I started dungeon mastering, that is able to provoke thought or create in your mind the things that you need in order to populate a world and be creative and actually dungeon master. And it's really special to me, and it's really important to me because out of the scale of dyslexia, which goes to 1 to 5, I am a 5. I'm severely dyslexic. I was actually illiterate in the 2nd grade. I was faking it. I had to repeat the 2nd grade. I had to do special ed. I had to do special reading programs. I had to do after school reading. I had to skip, all this kind of stuff. And I was told by a lot of people in my life that I was never going to be an author, and that just several people in my life that I expressed that to, they kind of told me to shove it to the wayside. So I did. And because Justin is so kind, he has given me the opportunity, and he was really the one who inspired me to say, wait, can I do this? He really was, because he trusted me to be able to write stuff for the Patreon. So if you've been reading the most recent lore about the maps, or if you have been reading the billboards, that has been me. That's my writing. And because of that, and because of that opportunity, what?
Said your name's at the bottom.
I know it is. It's so cool. But so I have been able, because of that opportunity, I gave myself a chance, and we're gonna do it. So the book is I have subtitled the book Alex's Declassified DM Survival Guide, which is very much
nice.
I have that's the running joke about the book, but that's literally what the book is. It's like a pantheon of gods. It's some really cool races. It's interesting, actually nice and intangible and usable ways to come up with NPCs. And then a bunch of oddities that are just a D100 and D20 charts in the back of things that'll make your world feel more real. Like, for example, things that you would find in a used bag of holding. Yeah, that's the book. It's coming in 2023, and I'm working with Justin.
Yes, we're really excited. So, you have a sign up link, if I'm not mistaken, where people can follow.
I do.
Do you want to drop that in the chat if Alicia hasn't done so already? And I just want to say you're a great writer. You're very creative. If you have not seen Initiative and Intrigue, it will blow your mind at how great her world building and role playing skills are. So come check it out. Plus, we're all awesome. Like you got a collection of really great role players. I mean, I'm kind of on the low end of that, but the rest of them are really amazing. So I do want to give just a reminder that there's no show live next week. We are going to be in West Michigan, where you can find us at Grand Con, one of the bigger role playing conventions in the state. So please come check us out. If you enjoy the show and you'd like to support us, please visit us at critacademy.com, follow us on social media, and leave us a review. Definitely consider signing up to get notified of our Kickstarter for equipment perks if you enjoyed this topic today. I think that'll do it for our show today. I'm your host, Justin.
I'm your guest, Alex Baum.
And I'm your co-host, Ian. Thanks for listening.
Keep your blades sharp and spells prepared, heroes. We'll see you guys later.